Today we are going to get to the historical root of the mint julep, but before we do that, I want to acknowledge the author of these books, Imbibe and Punch, David Wondrich. If you are going to talk about spirits in America and what people did with them, you have to be familiar with his work. Do you want to disagree with any of his conclusions? The research that's contained in these books is too much to leave on the table and expect to make an informed argument about any of this. Wondrich's work is a cornerstone to what is currently available on this topic broadly, and he has even helped to revive certain spirit styles that existed in the 19th century and really weren't available today, and we will get to use one of those in a later video when we go through all of the different versions of the julep that Jerry Thomas wrote about in his 1862 work. And this is the only case in any of these videos where I am going to rely completely on a secondary source rather than doing my own interpretation of a primary source. What we are going to do here today is 99%, if not completely, based on Wondrich's research. He traces the origin of the mint julep to what's basically a joke around the later middle of the 18th century, so right about when William Croyne, the first owner of Locust Grove, is making it to America from Ireland and getting started. The word julep had been used to refer to medicinal concoctions for centuries, but right about that time, people in America started referring to a simple early cocktail called a sling as a julep. Part of this joke was likely that the oil of the mint leaf was thought to be medicinal at that time and was known to be extracted. The oil was known to be extracted from the leaf by placing it in alcohol. So what we have here today is more of a general concept than an actual recipe. There were no hard and fast rules about the proportions that went into a sling, but Wondrich cites Dr. Benjamin Rush as talking about an acquaintance of his who basically drank himself to death, largely on slings, as making his slings with equal parts rum and water with a little bit of sugar. As a general rule, though, a sling could be any spirit, not just rum, and was frequently gin. It's also important to keep in mind that while our juleps today are made of bourbon, the seeds of what would become bourbon there in the late 18th century were literally just being planted in Kentucky as settlers moved west into it. So bourbon is not even a possibility here, and like we've talked about in several other videos on this channel, brandy was a very large part of the spirit scene in North America all the way up to Prohibition. Another note on the sling, it was not generally chilled in the 18th century. Ice was really not introduced as a factor until the 19th century, and of course it really took hold, and it is a crucial part of the mint julep today. So let's play around with this idea to see if we can get an idea of what this minty sling humorously referred to as a mint julep that gave rise to the magical potion that we have today might have tasted like. We're going to go with Dr. Rush's account of a sling being equal parts spirit and water, and I'm going to use Wondrich's recommendation of using 1 teaspoon of sugar to 2 ounces of spirit. Since an element of the medicinal term julep being applied to this cocktail may have been alcohol's ability to extract the beneficial oils from the mint leaf, I decided to do a little experiment, and I crushed up some mint leaves and I put them in a jar of some unaged white high-proof brandy for a few days to see what would happen. A couple of notes on that. A lot of times in the 18th century, spirits were not aged in wood like we think of them today. They would have been served or used in a white, clear form. Also, you can pick up white unaged brandy from a few different companies today, including Copper and Kings in Louisville, Kentucky, who was a sponsor of our distillery project at Locust Grove. So, let's just go ahead and strain this out. See how much we got. Press any more out? Okay. So, as you can see, it is no longer white, it is green. So that's right at 6 ounces, which makes this next part easy. I'm going to take a cocktail shaker, 6 ounces of room temperature water, and we decided we were doing 1 teaspoon of sugar to 2 ounces of spirit. So I'm going to put 3 teaspoons of sugar in here. And mix it up. Remember, when doing a cocktail like this, always, always, always dissolve your sugar in room temperature water before you move on. It will not dissolve in the spirit, and it's not going to really want to do that well for you in cold water. So it's a crucial first step to get that sugar dissolved first. Okay. That's doing pretty well. We'll just go ahead and add all of our mint-infused brandy. Okay, mix that up really well, and we now have a sling. So, get a couple of glasses here. And we'll just go ahead and do classic julep thing. Rub that to get its scent released. See if this improves the experience any. That'll really get the mint taste going once it hits your nose like that. And no straw mentioned here, so don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I've got my cocktail tasting partner Amy back with me, and we are going to see what these 18th century slings called mint juleps maybe.
And I've never had this before.
Neither have I, actually.
Yeah. You've been talking about it all week, but...
Yeah, we resisted the urge to take when the battery died just now.
Yeah.
I mean, to taste, so...
That's interesting.
Actually, it's very good.
It has a sort of a whole different, like, flavor roll.
Yeah. It's definitely not like the icy, refreshing, I want to sit and suck it down on a... Well, I mean, maybe.
I think we have to adjust to it a little
right.
bit. Because I think at first it almost tastes really harsh because you're expecting it to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually a lot milder than you would think. That mint really balances out.
Yeah.
It's unaged brandy.
Right. Yeah.
The mint really balances it out.
Yeah. So this is, again, this is high proof, unaged white brandy. You can buy this, and you might... I've used it during different demonstrations at Locust Grove to kind of give people an idea of what spirits might be a little bit more like in the 18th century.
So, you know more about this history than I do, but this is the time when it's not barrel aged like we're used to, right? This is... Spirits, I think, at the time would have been a lot harsher than what we expect.
Yeah, they hadn't really figured out all the systems that we have now to make it nice and mellow and, you know, that smell of wood because it's aged in wood.
Except I think this really mellows it in its own way. Like, I think this is a way of mellowing it.
Yeah, well, and that's something we talk about a lot. Just because the spirits might not have been as refined doesn't mean people were suffering. People figure stuff out.
I know, I mean, I've seen a lot of recipes at home for here's how to take some brandy, some whiskey, infuse it with something.
Right.
And I think, yeah, you know, that is its own way of sort of maybe almost continuing that process at home.
Yeah. So, we're in the very early days of the cocktail. Punch still reigns supreme. But here, our birth of the mint julep. Here's to it.
I like it.
So that's the beginning of the story, and stay with us because next time we're jumping into the 1840s, the joke is over and the julep is getting serious. We're going to try a couple of different recipes. One of them is almost identifiable as kind of what we think of now. The other one, we've already tested it. It's
so good.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so something totally unexpected. So thanks for hanging in there with us and looking forward to continuing to deconstruct the history of the mint julep with you at home.
See you next time. Okay, actually, we're back.
Yeah, we weren't done yet. We hadn't iced it down so we could get that crest into the 19th century. So here is the same drink with ice added. I don't like it as much.
There's less of the flavor.
Yeah.
It feels watered down.
Yeah, this was not designed for...
No, I want my other drink back.
Yeah. It's right over there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I just, it feels immediately watered down. It was already really nice and smooth. Oh, it's so interesting because I always think like, oh, ice will always make it better.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think we were picking up a whole lot more flavor from the uniced version of this, which is how it started.
Yeah.
So.
Get out of there.
There it goes. So, I guess maybe this is why they had to make the changes that led to what we're going to see next time.